Kash, I know that this is a horrible thing to bring up, and I know there's a lot to talk about today, but given this January 6th, given your deep and abiding understanding, and you were on our show, man, we had this clip of you on our show like a year or more ago saying exactly what was going to come out, that Donald Trump sent in the National Guard, that Nancy Pelosi denied it, that you guys had given the order, you guys wanted to protect the building, put up the barricades, and surely you were right. You were right, and you've been proven right again and again and again on this. My question to you is this. Like, if Donald Trump thought like Nancy Pelosi, he would have just lowered the gates when the leftists attacked the White House. He would have just said, okay, this would be the most valuable political tool I could possibly have. And I just let the people burn the place down, and we'll show America who they truly are.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, they, on January 6th, you heard it. You don't have to listen to me, Benny, Donald Trump, or anybody else. Nancy Pelosi told you she was waiting for this moment. She is the one who orchestrated this moment. She is the one who said she was going to punch a president of the United States in the face. She has admitted her intent on January 6th in her video. And oh, by the way, on January 6th, when the temple was supposedly burning, Nancy Pelosi and her family had the gumption to be filming her own Hollywood film that they would later release and walk through sensitive halls in Congress and escape routes and sensitive DOD information. They could care less about that. This is what we use to protect our elected men and women of Congress. We who have the no-fail mission, and she Hollywoodized it. She wanted to punch the president of the United States, and she couldn't wait for it. I've said since day one that her and the mayor of D.C., Bowser, had gotten together and elected to stage this political act so they would have the narrative to carry out an execution of Donald Trump. And they did it baselessly with the Unselect Committee. But now, as you just heard on that Tucker interview you played, Chief Sund, shocking that the truth didn't get out on his interview about the delay in the National Guard. And he said it wasn't the military. It was his boss, Pelosi. And the law required her to what? The law required her. This is why she's important. Must have the Speaker of the House and the mayor ask for the National Guard. Otherwise, it's illegal. And they didn't.
So can you please rewind the clock? And your time is valuable. I don't want you to have to repeat yourself, but can you please give us a play-by-play of what you offered? Because you were the one who was making the offer. You know, you were the man in the room, where it happens. What did Donald Trump offer on the morning of January 6th?
Yeah, so I was chief of staff at the Department of Defense at the time, and he actually offered it 2 days before January 6th. We were in the Oval Office, me, SecDef, chairman, and a couple other people. And we're talking about some sensitive operations unrelated to anything here. And President Trump said, hey, look, I've seen that there's a lot of people that are going to be in and around January 6th, not just in D.C., but around the country. What are we doing to offer security? And of course, I'm paraphrasing. And I said, sir, well, we have the National Guard. He said, okay, well, I'm authorizing up to 10 to 20,000. And the reason he did that, because he preemptively had the foresight to know in case something happens, he doesn't want to have to be the one put in the position to say, I made a bad national security decision and didn't authorize it. The Constitution and the Supreme Court have a two-part test. President has to authorize National Guard. Step one. Step two. The local governor or mayor, since it's D.C. in this instance, or head of law enforcement, Nancy Pelosi, has to request the National Guard after the authorization. It's posse comitatus, it's Supreme Court law, because our founding fathers don't want uniformed military personnel to occupy Washington, D.C. or anywhere else. Makes total sense. Well, after that, 2 days before January 6th, I sent my team to both Pelosi and Bowser in person. We can offer you up to 10, maybe 20,000 National Guard, but you guys know you have to tell us you want it. We can't mobilize, we can't equip, we can't man up until you sell me, go. And they wrote, now the letter's out there. Mayor Bowser's letter is out there where she says, I declined. The Capitol Police timeline specifically states they went to Nancy Pelosi upon request of the Department of Defense for National Guard, and she said, nope. So that's why it didn't deploy. And I want to tell you the story about January 6th, which I really haven't told much.
Please.
The day of when the riot and everything was going on outside, of course, now Pelosi's calling us, me, SecDef, screaming, why isn't the National Guard here? And then, and then we were like, wait a second. So are you authorizing it? Okay, authorized. Okay, where are they? As if I can just grow 10,000 Americans who are teachers, doctors, cops, lawyers, parents. I have to fly them in, kit them up, arm them, train them, equip them, then deploy them through law enforcement because they're an accompaniment to law enforcement. They're not a military, to august security operations. We did it. Check this out. It was the fastest cold start of the United States military since World War II. That's how fast we moved. But Nancy Pelosi's concern on that day before the deployment of the National Guard was, when are we going to be able to get back in the hall so that congressional food services can be restored so that the House of Representatives can eat? I'm not kidding. She said that to me and the SecDef and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
No.
Yeah. And I was like, ma'am, our security concerns are you, the personnel, and the people outside. Your Lunchable box is not our security concern. Can't make this stuff up. Like they're gonna be like, oh, Kash is lying. Okay, go ask the SecDef. Go ask the chairman. That guy lies all the time. So he's probably not going to tell you. But I mean, if I was going to make up a lie, it'd be better than that one.
So Nancy Pelosi was concerned about her image because she had a documentary crew with her. She was concerned about the trespassing at the Capitol. She's been waiting for that. And she was concerned that people would get into the Capitol, so she made sure that there was no security and that she didn't return Stephen Sund's phone call. And so at what point do we start asking the uncomfortable truth? I know there's a lot of Republicans who will wilt at this, but as Donald Trump is heading again to be arraigned today in Washington, D.C. for the crimes of Nancy Pelosi, oftentimes it's for the crimes of Joe Biden. This time it's for the crimes of Nancy Pelosi inexplicably. At what point do we start asking uncomfortable questions and be like, wait a second, it's time to drag Nancy Pelosi before a committee. It's time to start putting her under the light. Perhaps now is the time to actually put a subpoena out and like ask, why were you, the person who was in charge of security at the Capitol, not doing your job? Because there seems to be a preponderance of evidence, yours, Stephen Sund's, just to note, but then also the evidence of other Capitol police officers that day who were like absolutely, who were savaged, and who were abandoned, that are standing against her.
Yeah, I think the beauty, and now I'll, go put back my public defender and prosecutor hat on. Yeah. The beauty of this baseless indictment and Donald Trump showing force in person to say not guilty is because the defense he can mount, forget Congress, forget those guys. The defense that Donald Trump can mount through issuing subpoenas for any witness he wants related to his defense. Nancy Pelosi. Hey, let's go get. Oh, wait. I'm not done. We're just warming up the bus.
Go in, Kash.
She's just the first person. Maybe she's the driver. I don't know. But he can put Chris Wray, Merrick Garland. Everybody is a witness for his case. And if they deny it, they deny him due process, and the world is going to see it. The Department of Justice and the government gangsters there under Garland and Wray and Jack Smith have just reopened the litigation of January 6th. And now is our opportunity to tell the world the truth like we've been telling it the last 2.5 years. Now the world will hear it for the first time. So thanks for that. And I hope President Trump takes this opportunity with his defense team. One, he's got to recuse the judge. We can get into that in a second. Nobody's really reporting that. But the defense they can mount, the evidence they can ask for, force a federal subpoena. This isn't Congress. This is an executive branch judiciary subpoena. And if they don't abide by it, then the United States Secret Service goes out and gets the witness. The United States Marshals goes out and deploys and gets them. That's how due process works. I would love to see the witness list that President Donald J. Trump is going to submit. It should be everybody, including the media, who are in on the cover-up, to stage him improperly as an insurrectionist, seditionist, treasonous. Oh, by the way, they didn't charge him with any of that.
You're right. Correct. So the judge probably would love to. This judge you just said needs to recuse herself. Can you illuminate for our audience why?
Yeah. So look, so her name's Judge Chutkin, Obama appointee, donated to Obama. I don't care about that. We can't recuse just based on appointments and donations. It's silly. But when I was running the Russiagate investigation for Devin Nunes, and when we were on the hunt of Fusion GPS and had figured out that Hillary Clinton and the DNC had paid for the dossier, we issued a congressional subpoena for the bank records of Fusion GPS. They didn't want to give us those. So they took us to federal court on that subpoena. Do you know where that case landed? Judge Chutkin in November of 2017 or 18, whatever it was. After a month of litigating that case, meaning we went to court, we filed motions, we said, hey, we have a right to this information. They said, no, you don't. It's too sensitive. We don't want to reveal the parties being the DNC, Hillary Clinton, the operators, Perkins Coie, the funneling, Steele dossier, millions, FBI lying, all of that. After a month of litigation, she recused herself. She spontaneously recused herself from the matter. Okay, got reassigned to Judge Leon. We ended up winning the case, and obviously the world knows we broke the DNC's back and proved to the world who paid for it. But that's not the point. Why?
Yes.
She used to be a lawyer at Boies Schiller. She was a lawyer at Boies Schiller when Hunter Biden was of counsel there. She was a lawyer at Boies Schiller when Boies Schiller represented Burisma. That's not even the center stage. This is reserved nosebleed stuff.
Come on, man.
She and Boies Schiller represented Fusion GPS. The same corrupt government gangster affiliated firm that concocted the Steele dossier and paid through the FBI to lie to a federal court to surveil Donald Trump on the original sin unlawfully, Russiagate. This is why he cannot preside over the Donald Trump indictment. The original case in the matter is Russiagate. It always goes back to it, and her firm has represented that. But she made a misrepresentation to us. The party in the suit that we had was Fusion GPS. She litigated it for a month. And when she knew we were going to win, she had to get off because she wanted to block it. This is how political she is. When you are a judge and you go before someone or someone appears before you and you represented them in the past, automatic recusal. Automatic recusal. She waited because she wanted to see if she could block us. What do you think she's going to do to Donald Trump? This is why I've informed the president of this. They must move to recuse in the coming weeks. It doesn't have to be immediate. And now you have a justification because the standard is simple. Do you as a magistrate have the ability to be neutral, fair, and detached arbiter of justice? Is there an appearance of impropriety? If there is, you're out. And I'm not asking you to get kicked out because Kash Patel and Donald Trump told you to get kicked out. I'm asking you to get kicked out because you kicked yourself out of the game back in 2017. You set the precedent for recusal. You got to go.
That is absolutely bombshell stuff. I mean, and she was gone from your case. And then you ended up winning your case. Is that correct?
And then we won. And then the world knew that Kash Patel wasn't crazy when I told them everybody was that Hillary paid for it. They were like, you're out of your mind. And I said, oh, here's the receipts. Put this guy in charge.
Wow. Kash, that is bombshell stuff. I did not know that it went that deep. I heard that she worked with Hunter Biden, and that alone just seemed to really not pass the smell test.
That's the Hunter Biden Burisma stuff. That's like most judges would be like, okay, I'm out. It's kind of tangentially touching everything. Yeah. But she was the attorneys of record for Fusion GPS, literally the nucleus of Russiagate's Get Trump mission based on lies, false intelligence, and a money laundering operation through the law firms and people she represented. Boies Schiller has represented half of the DNC and Hillary entrenchment. Half of them. How can she possibly dictate a judicial proceeding over President Donald Trump?
Remarkable. Truly remarkable. I want to talk about some other cases that you've brought, and I just wanted to sort of tie in what we've learned this morning from Devin Archer. Bribery. Can you explain what the legal threshold for bribery would be? We did the first 40 minutes of the show on the Devin Archer bombshells, and what we've learned about putting Joe Biden on the phone. The letters from Joe Biden signed, thanks for helping my son. Here's an extra dime bag for you, son. The incredible amount of activity that Joe Biden had inside of his son's business deals. And can you help us with, because I know you've done these RICO charges and you've done these sort of crime wrap-ups and you've prosecuted these, and very, very few people have. So what is the charge here? How do you prove bribery? And maybe you could kick in the nuts the Republican investigators a little bit to stop sending tweets and start sending impeachments.
Stop sending letters. Impeach Wray and Garland. Don't even impeach Biden. That's a waste of time. We can come back to that because I want the receipts, like you said, and all roads lead to Joe and Hunter Biden. We need the information. It took us 6 months and one congressional subpoena to get 1023. Don't you think there's 1,000 emails and memorandums and text messages and documents and more sexcapades going on with the FBI and DOJ that we need to learn about? And we're talking about one document. Impeach Wray and Garland. Forget Joe Biden. But look, bribery is pretty simple. It's really simple. Of course, people can engage in contractual relations and say, if you do X, I get paid Y. It's legal. But if you do X and I'll get paid Y, only if you can get so-and-so to vouch for you, and then I'll pay you more money on the side, and then we won't tell anyone. It's bribery. It's really simple. It's not complicated. Everybody knows what bribery is. If someone says, I don't want to do something, and then you say, well, I'm going to offer you 10X, that's a bribe. And if Donald Trump were president and Don Jr. and Eric Trump were at a consulting firm, let's call it Burisma, and they called the Ukraine, and the Ukrainians said, we're going to pay you $5 million. And we appreciate that contract that's coming. And they said, hang on, let me call my dad, who's the sitting president of the United States. And then dad just says, hey, what's going on? Of course, he's not going to go out there and say, by the way, I need that bribe to come in today, and then I'll do what you want. This is what Joe Biden did. And the Democratic defense for this entire platform of the Devon Archer testimony is, and the White House put a statement out to this effect. The Republicans keep looking for a bombshell. But as Devon Archer admitted, Joe Biden never said the word business dealings. Of course he didn't. He's not a complete idiot, especially back then when he had all of his senses. He knew what he was saying. It's a flex. That's the bribe. That's coercion. That's corruption. That's fraud. Putting aside the fact that Hunter Biden is guilty of being an illegal foreign agent, and DOJ should have charged him with that forever ago. Putting that aside, you're talking about bribery, fraud, and corruption practices. And there's no better way to prove it than this case. And Devon Archer blew away the three big lies of Joe and Hunter Biden. I never spoke to my son about any international dealings. He never received any money. And Hunter never did anything illegal. Well, we have 20 phone calls to say otherwise, that his son put Joe Biden on the phone call with Ukrainian officials and CCP officials in mainland China. What do you think they were talking about? The price of tea? I mean, it's just absurd that this two-tier system of justice is being defended by this White House. But it's the same corrupt government gangster cabal that's bringing this prosecution against Donald Trump. It's all interconnected. And you're right, Congress, stop writing letters. Who cares about letters? Did they write me a letter or you a letter when they were investigating us? No, they sent a subpoena, told the Washington Post, who called me and said, you're the first guy subpoenaed for January 6th. I said, no problem. When do I show up? You guys can't handle the truth. It's what we must do is get their playbook and shove it down their throats. Yes. Text messages and tweets. That's all garbage. Send out subpoenas and man up.
Yes. Man up. You are somebody who does this every single day at your incredible site, fightwithcash.com. We'll toss it up on screen here. Government gangsters, baby. If you want to actually find out what's going on, talk to the man on a mission to break up the cartel inside of the government. This is Cash's new book, governmentgangsters.com, up on screen. Cash will also throw Cash's Truth Social up on screen, where you can find Cash's thoughts, musings, and they're very, very poignant. Final word here. You know Donald Trump very well. You're probably one of the first hires in a next Trump administration. What is your advice to the president today?
Simple. And a quick word on government gangsters. We got a release date. It's coming out in September. We have to make sure that these government gangsters that I'm putting up on screen never get back in office ever again, or anyone like that. And the only way to do that is to make sure this guy gets reelected. Yes, I'm holding up the government gangster deck. Card deck for charity, all proceeds to the Cash Foundation. You've seen it here. But it's personnel, and you know that, Benny. When the next time that President Trump goes into office in January 2025, there's going to be a book of personnel, and there's a bench of warriors who put America first and will reduce the weaponization and politicization of DOJ, FBI, Intel, and, of course, stop the nonsense at DOD about how diversion and equity and the environment are more important than our border, forever wars, and protecting Americans. That's how we do it, and that's how Donald Trump's going to do it.
I'm always so inspired when you come on the show. I sit back and I just listen, and it's just so great, Kash, when you're on the program. Thank you. You give people hope. You legitimately give people hope. It's wonderful to have somebody who's willing to fight, but is also sophisticated enough to understand how to fight.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I hope your audience goes and buys the book, governmentgangsters.com. We really need the support there. Thanks very much.
Godspeed, Kash.